Hey, Katie here. So obviously we've been a bit quiet, but just so you know, we are working on a season 4 and we're super excited about the stories we've been tracking down. So keep an eye out. That'll be coming in the next few months. In the meantime, we're shaking things up a bit and dropping into your feeds to share a preview from another podcast that's been very interesting. It's called What's Your Problem? You may know What's Your Problem's host, Jacob Goldstein, as the former voice of the Planet Money podcast. On his new show, Jacob talks with people who are facing some of the biggest challenges in business and tech, and the problems that they have to solve along the way. You'll get to know innovators who are trying to figure out how to do things no one on the planet knows how to do. They're asking questions like, how do you sell millions of dollars worth of wiener dog ramps in the middle of a global pandemic? How do you turn single cells into tiny factories and end up with a $10 billion company? How do you teach self-driving cars to understand people? And the one that has been fascinating for me, how do you prevent food from going bad before it even gets to consumers? That's what you'll be hearing about today. How Catherine Sizov, founder of Strela Biotechnology, is using a natural process found in fruits to detect when they're ripening. Catherine started working on this problem in 2018 when she was a junior in college. Now, some of the biggest apple and pear packers in the US use her device. Next up, avocados. So here's a preview of Jacob and Catherine's conversation. I hope you enjoy it. You can hear more from What's Your Problem wherever you get your podcasts.
My family is really into fruit. On my kitchen counter right now is a bowl with apples, pears, bananas, and a mango. Also an avocado, technically a fruit. The avocado and the pears are hard. They're not ripe yet. And I'm afraid that if I look away for like 5 minutes, they're going to jump straight from hard to rotten. The bananas are turning brown, but still totally edible. And the apples and the mango, they are just right. But somebody probably better eat that mango today. It's not going to last. Now, there is a reason that I'm talking way too much about my fruit bowl. And that is because it is really hard to get fruit right. This is not just a me problem. It is a massive problem for the whole supply chain, all the way from the time the fruit gets picked to the time it winds up in a bowl on my counter. It's a huge, multi-billion-dollar problem. I'm Jacob Goldstein, and this is What's Your Problem? The show where entrepreneurs and engineers explain how they're going to change the world once they solve a few problems. My guest today is Catherine Sizov. She's the founder and CEO of Strela Biotech. And the problem Catherine is trying to solve is this. A huge share of the fruit grown in America goes bad before it even gets to the consumer. She learned this fact 4 years ago when she was a junior at the University of Pennsylvania. And by the time she graduated in 2019, she had both invented a device to detect when fruit is ripening and started a company to bring that device to market. Today, her customers include some of the biggest apple and pear packers in America. To start, can you just sort of tell me how you came to start this company?
Yeah, I read a paper that said 40% of all food is wasted before it's consumed, which I thought was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard of in my entire life. And then that was quickly followed by guilt because I was like, I don't even know where the food in my grocery store comes from. So just after reading that paper, walked to the grocery store and went up to the produce manager and said, hey, where did those peaches come from?
And what did they say?
She said, I don't really know. You should probably talk to the growers. And I was like, okay, I'll go and do that. Realized peaches don't really grow in Pennsylvania, but what does grow in Pennsylvania is apples. So went to the apple growers.
And you're in college at this point?
Yep, I was in college. I guess, I started, taking the train to Lancaster, Pennsylvania and stuff instead of going to class at some point.
And what do you learn?
Well, I learned that an apple at a grocery store can be over a year old by the time I eat it.
You mean like a year since it's come off the tree?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Apples are put into these rooms that kind of are like outer space where they're deoxygenated and kept very, very cold. And in those types of conditions, the apples can actually survive for that long.
And so why does that become relevant for what you end up doing?
Yeah, so sometimes these rooms are kind of a black box because they're deoxygenated. A person who stores them, which is called a packer, they have dozens of these rooms. They're massive. They're filled with millions of pieces of fruit. And they're kind of playing a little bit of a guessing game of behind which door is the most ripe fruit. So you'll have a room filled with 5 million apples. That's a huge, huge room. And then sometimes they'll crack open that door and all the apples inside are applesauce. And that's like $1 million for that operation in one really bad day.
And that happens. That happens just because they don't know. They don't know that inside that sealed room, the apples are going bad.
Yeah.
So you learn all this. What do you do?
So, my background's in molecular biology, and I was thinking, well, these are biological organisms. Maybe we should kind of treat them as such. Maybe we should listen to them, see what they're telling us.
Like, what does that actually mean? As you're learning about this, like, how do you listen to an apple?
All the fruit on a tree ripens at the same time. There's some sort of evolutionary advantage to this happening. And the way that produce do this is by communicating with each other. If you've heard the saying, one bad apple spoils the bunch, it's totally true. And it's because it's telling everybody else, hey, I'm ripening. Hey, I'm going bad. And the way that they communicate with each other is through gas emissions.
Okay. Ethylene, right? In particular, this gas ethylene.
That's right. In particular, ethylene.
Ethylene is what? Just like carbon and hydrogen? It's just like some boring gas?
Yeah, it's, I guess it's kind of boring, but...
I don't mean it's a big deal. Is boring the wrong word? How would you characterize ethylene? What's ethylene like?
Symmetrical.
Symmetrical. Very good. Okay. So basically, ethylene is a signal that a ripe apple puts out, and all of the other apples understand that signal to mean, oh, I better get ripe now too.
Yeah, and actually it's cross fruit communication as well. So I don't know if your grandma ever put, a tomato and a banana in a paper bag together to ripen one of them faster. That's the way to do it is they communicate with each other using ethylene and they ripen faster.
Can you just list off the fruits that communicate using ethylene?
Yeah, so some of them are avocados, apples, obviously, bananas, kiwis, pears, getting more exotic persimmons, tomatoes. A lot of tropical fruits.
So you learn all this. You're reading papers about fruit communication. What do you do?
So thinking about fruits as a biological organism, let's listen to them. Let's hear what they're saying through measuring ethylene gas and then figure out how ripe they are.
I mean, when you put it that way, it seems kind of obvious, right? It seems like weird that some college student who got interested in it would do a thing that nobody had done before. Had somebody done this before? Why wasn't this already happening if not?
Yeah, absolutely. Ethylene has been known about since the 70s, actually, and there are a ton of awesome universities that have published a lot of studies on it. It comes down to the technology. So apples and produce are in a really messy environment, if you will. There's a lot of pesticides, treatments, all sorts of things in that environment. And so it's very hard for a typical sensor to pick up just that tiny signal that produce is emitting.
Uh-huh. So it's hard to measure it. It's hard to actually do at some level.
Yep.
But you set out to do it? You were like, well, maybe I can figure it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, coming back, I only know molecular bio at the end of the day. So I was like, okay, you know what? Fruits have been sensing and signaling ethylene for millions of years. Why don't we use that mechanism that they use? And so at the end of the day, what we did was essentially hack a fruit, if you will, and digitize its output. And then we just convert that into a digital signal that we can use to predict the ethylene concentration.
So the key idea that you had that maybe nobody had before was, let's use the same protein that fruit uses to perceive ethylene in our sensor to pick up ethylene.
Totally. Evolution is smarter than we are.
Like, is there a moment there of you figuring it out? Was it easy? Was it hard?
You know, I wish there were kind of light bulb moments. I think a lot of the times it's the light bulb moment is taken over by some big failure that you have to then go and solve. And then also when things work, you're like, okay. And you don't realize, like, you go eat a burrito or whatever and don't realize that this was a big moment.
Yeah. Were there any eating a burrito moments that you didn't realize at the time were big moments, but that looking back, you're like, oh, that was actually a big moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so the first year that we put sensors in the real world, just to see what happened, we were getting really nice data, and I had kind of downloaded it and put it in Excel and looked at it and saw like really nice ethylene curve and was like, that looks great. And then I went to go eat a burrito. And then about a couple weeks later, the person whose room we had put the sensor in said, you know what? You saved me $600,000 this year. I would have totally opened that room way late and had applesauce.
Applesauce, like $600,000 worth of apples would have gone bad, would have spoiled.
Yeah, that's right.
This is around the time you started the company. You started the company before your senior year of college. And then did you finish school as you were building the company?
I did finish school, namely because the school I went to had a entrepreneurial prize that if I was still a senior, I could apply for and get money.
So basically you stayed in school in order to fund your business?
That's right. I mean, I was paying a lot of tuition, got to make that money back somehow, right?
And did it work?
Yeah, it did. By the time I graduated, we had received over $500,000 of just money through pitch competitions and things like that.
Well, if you got $500,000, I mean, I know tuition's expensive, but I feel like you must have made a profit on college if you got $500,000.
Yeah, I think so. I
hope so.
I hope so too.
So this isn't that long ago. This is like a few years ago. Like, where are you today? Tell me about the company today.
So today we are 15 folks, 15 of the smartest people I've ever met. We work with 72% of all the apple and pear folks. And now we're expanding into other parts of the market, whether that's different commodities or different parts of the supply chain like retail and imports.
And how does it work as a business? Like, do you sell them your devices, or is it like a subscription, and like more or less how much do they pay?
Frankly speaking, our customers are way too busy to worry about something like ethylene, and they certainly don't have time to interpret a sensor or a reading. So the most important thing for us is the decision that we help them make, which is which room to open first. So our business model reflects that. So we just charge a subscription service where you get access to Strela monitoring per room per year. Also, in this industry, usually instead of looking at a dashboard and making a decision, our customers call us and say, hey, I'm about to open a room full of galas. Which one should I do?
That is old school. They call you like on your cell?
Yeah.
And like more or less, how big is your business now? Just like order of magnitude, how much revenue do you have?
Can I not say that?
Yeah, you could not say that. Like, what's another way of talking about it?
Yeah, so we charge $5,000 per room per year. And to date, we've monitored over 2 billion pieces of fruit.
More than 2 billion pieces of fruit, mostly apples and pears. After the break, the next frontier, avocados. I'm going to be honest, I got a lot of skin in the avocado game. Stakes are very high for me on this one.
You can hear more stories from the people building a brighter future on What's Your Problem from Pushkin Industries. Listen to What's Your Problem wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you follow us on your podcast app and on social to keep up to date for season 4. We'll be back soon.